Hi everybody, it's Courtney and I'm here with another video for Trinity Stamps. Today we're going to be creating a few very quick and clean and simple cards, and this time of year it's crunch time, so we're trying to get as many Christmas cards done as possible, so this will allow you to kind of mass produce these. So I'm stamping the largest tree from the Joyeux Noel stamp set as well as two of the smaller trees. And I'm also taking one of the stars from the stamp set and just popping that up on top of that largest tree. We're going to color these with our Copic markers, and I'm just going to show you one here. I colored them all the same way. But I'm starting off with my lightest color, which is the G21, and I'm just mapping out where my darkest areas will be. For the tree itself, it's going to be underneath where each of the little sections of the tree are hanging over the section below it. Next, I'm going to go in with my darkest color, and I'm just going to kind of go over those same areas. Now I'm barely touching the tip of the marker to the paper here, and I'm just doing small little flicks right underneath each of those little sections on the tree. And these are all different size flicks. This will allow you to get some texture within the image. Once my darkest color was down, I'll move to my mid-tone, and I'm only using a 3-color blend on these trees. I'm going to go on to my G24, and I'm going to extend all of those flicks out a little bit further. Now I'm quickly going over the area. I'm trying not to over blend here because I want to kind of keep some of those flick lines so that I can maintain that texture that we're creating. Finally, I'll go back in with my lightest color and quickly go over those same areas, extending it all the way out to the bottom of each of those little sections, not being too careful or not too worried if I happen to go out of the lines. I can always go back in with my colorless blender and fix up any of those areas that I may have been a little bit too sloppy and too careless. Now for the trunk of the tree, we're going to color this basically the same way as we did with the rest of the tree, starting off with my lightest color, which is the E53, just putting down my darkest areas, which will just be on the top part of that trunk underneath the rest of the tree. Going in with the E57, blending that out with the E55, and then finally back to the E53 and filling the rest of that area in. Now for the star, I did do some shading on this, and it was completely unnecessary. I added a little bit of the darker color to the bottom part of the star and then blended that out. You can definitely go in with just one color. I'm going to be adding some shimmer to this later on anyway, so the shading is not even going to be any noticeable at all. So I went ahead and colored the other two trees the same exact way, and then went ahead and fussy cut those out. Next, I'm taking a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and this is cut with a stitched rectangle die. I'm going to use my Tombow Mono Multi-Glue to adhere a piece of Fun Foam to the back of that, and then adhere that piece to a top folding A2 size note card. I'm keeping these pretty clean and simple because, like I said, at this point in December, I'm mass producing. So I'm just kind of laying out my trees how I'm going to want them and kind of played around how I wanted to put my sentiment onto the card panel I've already adhered it with Fun Foam, so my options are limited at this point. So I ended up taking a black piece of cardstock, and this is just from my scrap bin, and I'm going to heat emboss my sentiment. Now the sentiment is two separate sentiments that go together, and I wanted both of them to be on the card. So I'm going to start off with this first one here. I'm going to treat my black cardstock with my anti-static tool, stamp my sentiment with Versamark ink, and sprinkle on some gold embossing powder from Ranger, and go ahead and heat set that. Then I'll flip my card panel around, stamp out the second part of my sentiment, and use that same gold embossing powder for that as well. Now this cardstock that I'm using here is the same width as my card base and not my card panel. But the way I laid it out on my card, I kind of liked it going across the entire thing. So being we had popped up the stitched rectangle. This wouldn't necessarily lay flat across the entire card. So in order to do that, I took really teeny tiny pieces of Scotch foam tape and put a little piece on either side of those little strips. And then once I had my placement down, I added a little bit of Tombow Mono Multi-Glue to just the middle part of the sentiment strip. That way it's still laying flat on the card and it's still supported on those edges so that when it goes through the mail, it doesn't get crushed, that the ends of the little strips don't get crushed. So I centered those on the bottom part of my card there, and then I ended up popping up just the middle tree with a Scotch foam tape, and I adhered the other two trees on either side of that popped up one just flat with my Tombow Mono Multi-Glue. I added a little bit of shimmer to the star with my Wink of Stella. And like I said, mass producing at this point, I have probably about 200 cards to mail out this year. So I'm running out of time. So I ended up creating 3 of these cards that were pretty much the same. I just colored my trees with different color combinations. For one, I used a YG99, YG95, and a YG93. And for the other, I used a YG03, G07, and G28. And here are my 3 cards. That's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by and have a great day. Bye.